All right, let's move on to chapter 2, CSS styling. So currently our home page doesn't have any styles. Let's take a look again. Here we go. No styles. So in this chapter, we will cover several topics: adding a global CSS file, learning 2 different ways of styling, Tailwind and CSS modules, and learning how to conditionally add class names with the clsx utility package. Let's start with global styles. So if we look inside our app UI folder, we will see global.css. Which is, so to use our global.css and apply it to all the routes in our application, it's good to add it to our top level component. So in Next.js, this is the root layout. Add global styles to your application by navigating to app layout. So app layout, and import the global CSS file. So we're going to import @/app/ui/global.css. Quick note about this @ symbol. This is a path alias, and we can use it because of TypeScript. And basically, @ represents the root. So from the root, enter the app folder, enter the UI folder, and let me get global.css. And we go to tsconfig real quick. We can see that setup right here. Okay. I don't know why sync cannot find body. Okay. So now, our development server should look like this. Let's bring it back. Here is our styled application. But wait a second. You didn't add any CSS rules. Where did the styles come from? Let's take a look inside global.css. Okay. You'll notice some Tailwind directives. So these 3 lines at the top. Tailwind is a CSS framework that speeds up the development process by allowing you to quickly write utility classes directly in your TSX markup. So in Tailwind, you style elements by using class names, kind of like Bootstrap. For example, adding the class TextBlue500 will turn the H1 text blue. Okay. Although CSS styles are shared globally, each class is singularly applied to each element. That means if you add or delete an element, you don't have to worry about maintaining separate style sheets, style collisions, or the size of your CSS bundle growing as your application scales. Okay? And then saying here that when you create a new Next.js app with the create next app CLI, then it'll ask you if you want to install Tailwind. So it'll set it up for you. Okay. Let's go to app.page.tsx, and we see a bunch of classes attached to all these elements. These classes are Tailwind utility classes, and aka each one of these classes is a CSS style. I'll just put like BG Blue 500 means background blue 500, which is a pre-built color that Tailwind gives you. You can use custom colors too. We'll see that later, most likely. Okay, so don't worry if it's your first time using Tailwind. To save time, we've styled all the components you'll be using. Let's play with Tailwind. They want us to copy this code, paste it in. So I'm going to bring this back here. We're going to paste it in above this P tag. Okay, and I'm going to save it. Let's see what happens. Get a nice black triangle. Okay. And time to take a quiz. What shape do you see? We see a black triangle. Check answer. Yay. Okay. If you prefer writing traditional CSS, we can use CSS modules. Okay. So in our app UI, let's create a new file called home.module.css, and we'll paste in these styles. So the class shape has these styles. These styles should be the same as those Tailwind styles that made that black triangle. To use CSS modules, we have to import it as a JavaScript object, usually called styles. Okay. And let's go ahead and remove the Tailwind. Let's comment out the Tailwind one. Save. Let's bring back our dashboard. And to use the CSS modules, we'll create a div. And we will give it a class name of styles.shape. Because shape is what we called it in our module file. Save, and we get our black triangle back. But it's coming from our CSS modules, not from Tailwind. So you can use, basically, the point of this is to say, hey, you can use Tailwind or CSS modules. Two common ways. Time to take a quiz. What is one benefit of using CSS modules? It provides a way to make CSS classes locally scoped. So locally scoped is the keyword. I skipped over it, but it says it right here. CSS modules allow you to scope CSS to a component by automatically creating unique class names. And it regurgitates that here. Create unique class names for each component. Okay. Before I continue, I'm just going to go ahead and remove the CSS module. Actually, we'll keep it here as an example, but I'll just keep everything alone. Yeah, let's leave it alone. Let's go back to the tutorial. Using the clsx library to toggle class names, okay? So basically, it's really cool if we have the option to switch styles based on a condition. So clsx will help us with that. So let's go to our app UI invoices status. UI invoices status. And so here we have the clsx package. And we're using it to conditionally apply these Tailwind classes. So if the status, which is passed as a prop, if the status is pending, then make my background gray. If my status is paid, then make my background green. So it's only going to apply one of these sets of styles. So by passing a prop, we can choose to have the background green or gray. So search for clsx in your code editor. What components use it to conditionally apply class names? So in my code editor, I will search clsx. And where is it being used? It's being used in the button, but I don't see that here. Being used in latest invoices. I don't see that here. Breadcrumbs. Don't see that here. Pagination. That's going to be the first choice. And status. So status and pagination. And let's take a peek in pagination. We're using it here. We're using it twice, so if it's disabled and not disabled, we'll have two different classes. If the direction is left and right, we'll have two different classes. And in status, status is the one we just looked at, the background gray and green. Cool. Other styling options, Sass, which allows you to import CSS and SCSS files, and CSS and JS libraries such as Style.js, styled components, and emotion. Take a look at the CSS documentation for more information. So they reference a lot of documentation inside this tutorial, which I can't really show you because you can't click on my screen. But if you're interested in any of these topics, each chapter kind of has like a read further information here. So just go to the chapter and look for those references at the bottom. We've completed chapter 2.